athlete, coach cool, silver medalist doing India proud, and the founder of Four Poles Pune. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Nupur Chaudhuri, who's going to be talking to us about all things pole. So over to you, Nupur. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your pole story? How did it begin and how long has it been since you've been doing this?
Hi, Sakshi. So I started learning pole, I think it was in May 2017. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'd always wanted to learn pole before that, but it never
Right.
seemed to happen because there just wasn't a good teacher around.
Right.
And I'm based in Pune, so there wasn't any teacher in Pune.
Right.
At that point, I was working as a journalist, and so you're always on call and everything. I could never like take off and go to Bombay to learn and stuff.
Right.
So in 2017, I had already quit journalism. I had my own footwear design business,
Well,
and yeah, so and that's when I googled pole classes again, and I found a teacher in Bombay. So
right.
she was like, why don't you just come for a class and we'll see how it goes. So I
Right.
said, okay. I spoke to, my mom-in-law, my husband, and my husband, Ashwin. He knew how much I wanted to learn pole. So he was like,
Right.
you must go do this, go try, see what it's about and stuff. So I did that. And my mom actually came with me for my first class because I was
Wow.
driving down alone to Bombay. So she came along and she sat through class, and she also absolutely loved it. She loved watching me struggle, but at the same time really enjoy myself in class and
Right.
sort of get something of a first spin going on the pole.
Right.
And yeah, ever since I learned my first spin, I absolutely fell in love with pole, and that falling in love has never really stopped. In fact, I think it
Right.
happens every day, every time that I pole, that I try a new trick, or even when I'm teaching, I just keep falling more in love with it. And
Mhm.
yeah, so 2017 May, I would drive, for 3.5 hours to Bombay every Sunday and do a 1 hour class and drive back.
That's quite some dedication.
I know, yeah. It's only because I really loved it, otherwise I would
Right.
never have done it. So,
True.
unfortunately, I think it was 2 or 3 months into this routine that I had a pole injury. My ligament snapped in my right wrist and my bone
Oh.
dislocated. So, that was a turning point for me because I just sort of found, this passion, and
Right.
finally found something that I knew I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
And now this happened. And coming from a non-sports background, I was
Mhm.
literally the girl in school who was always excused and sitting inside. I would never run the laps or anything. So coming from a completely non-sports background, having an injury was something very new to me. It's something I never thought would happen to me. And
Right.
I had no idea how to deal with this. Is it going
Mhm.
to get okay? For me, it was like, oh, it's the end of the world. I'll never be able to do
Right.
it again. All of that. And since pole was still very nascent, when the doctor asked me what happened, how did this happen, and I told him, and he's like, "Oh, if you do unnatural things, then unnatural
Wow.
things will happen." Yeah, so that really again set me back because I'm like, this is a doctor and he's telling me that pole is something unnatural. So
Right.
I was very demotivated. I stopped working out completely because I was like, oh no, I'm like, I almost felt like I can't do anything. So I put on
Right.
weight. I was mentally very depressed, and
Mhm.
it was a trying few months for me. Okay.
Right.
And but luckily for me, I then found a good physiotherapist who said, look, Nupur, I know what pole is about. And I was so happy to
Mhm.
hear that. And
Right.
it's like, I know what pole is about, and don't worry, in 8 weeks I'll get you back on the pole. So
Oh, wow.
instantly my mind sort of rejuvenated, and I was like, oh, maybe I
Right.
can do this again. Of course, it didn't
Right.
take 8 weeks, it took much longer. But the
Right.
fact is that I now thought that, hey, I can do this again.
Right.
And of course, my husband was an immense support. He's always been like working out and everything. So he kept telling me, you're going to get over this. It is going to heal. Your body is going to heal. And he refused to remove the pole from my room. He's like, you're going to look at it every day and tell yourself that you will get back to this. And that really
Lovely.
helped me. So I took my own sweet time to, not feel scared to try this again. So
Right.
so then I think 10 months later, 10 or 11 months later, in October 2018 is when I properly restarted pole. So I actually
Hmm.
count my journey from then, because that's when I went to Dubai to stay for a
Hmm.
month to only pole. Like, I said
Wow.
I will learn from experienced teachers, and this is what
Right.
I need to do. And so my husband and mom-in-law came to drop me off in Dubai. They checked the studio out. She met the instructors, and she was like, "Okay, you'll be safe. It's a really good environment."
Right. How
All of
sweet.
Yeah. So it was just eat, sleep, breathe, pole, for me
Cool.
then. And yeah, my level really shot up. I learned so much, and I was amongst, these fabulous instructors and these fabulous fellow students. And I would watch the
Right.
advanced girls doing pole, and I was like, oh my God, one day I want to be able to do that. And
Right.
and here I am, doing that and much more today. And it's just been a really incredible journey. I keep updating myself because I believe that one has to always be a student. There's no end to
Absolutely.
knowledge, in whatever field
Absolutely.
you are in. So
Right.
yeah. So I've done a pole camp. I've gone back to Dubai for a month. I've done another pole camp recently in Turkey with Dimitri Politov, and he is like
Wow.
the god of pole.
Right.
Okay, he's just amazing. Like, he's my idol. He's always been, and for me to even be in his presence was like, oh my God. And
True.
you know how they say sometimes you should not meet your idols because it could be a letdown. But for
Right.
me, meeting him he was everything that I envisioned him to be and much more. So inspiring, such a fabulous teacher, such a fabulous coach and mentor. And yeah, I feel like I've come back with so much more knowledge, to so much more to practice, and so many more
Right.
milestones to achieve. So yeah, that's this has been my personal journey, and it's an ongoing journey.
Absolutely.
I hope to be 80 and still polling and teaching,
Maybe,
maybe.
I mean, I can't wait to see that definitely.
Yeah.
And at that point, did you ever think that you would be competing with this or any plan of that sort?
No, I never thought I would be that good enough. Like, I
Hmm.
didn't believe it. But as I kept practicing, and I was very disciplined, also more than discipline, it was passion for me because I couldn't
Right.
stay off the pole, when I was learning.
Right.
So, of course, as I kept practicing, I started getting better, I started getting stronger, my muscles developed, the harder tricks became achievable.
Right.
And I slowly started teaching, and I realized I'm also a good teacher. And it was during this period I started teaching in May 2019 at home. I had one pole in
Ah,
my
right.
room, and I had girls coming in, friends of friends. And
Right.
then in December 2019, I started my own studio with like 4 to 5 poles. And
Lovely.
but unfortunately lockdown happened in 2020.
Right.
Yeah, so there was a break to teaching at that point. And that's when I thought, I wanted to, in 2020s, when I thought maybe I'm ready to compete at some level.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I did have plans to go to Korea or Switzerland. I wanted to see
Hmm.
where I would compete, but then lockdown happened, travel was
Right.
stopped. But luckily, the pole sport organization started virtual competitions. They took it all online.
Right.
Yeah, so it became easier. And, I just registered. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
Just
I
go
had
for it.
1 month. Yeah, I had 1 month to prep and get it done. And yeah, I did it. And it was 3 a.m. our time when it was, live, aired live. So we had to send in the video previously, unedited videos and everything. And I sent in my routine, and it was 3 a.m. our time, and I'm watching it, and everyone online appreciating my performance and everything. And then the judges, they scored us at that point, and they announced like the first prize and then the second prize. It was my name. Then I was like, oh
Wow.
my God. So I was jumping all over the room. But and my parents were up, my brother, everyone was watching it at the same
Right.
time. And it was just an amazing experience and an amazing feeling to be the first from the Indian pole community here to
Exactly. Right.
compete and win. So it was I'll never forget that moment,
Absolutely, that's amazing. I mean, and I've been following you since a long time. I remember you completely thriving through the lockdown. I mean, I felt like
Yeah,
what are some people doing with so many excuses, like not being
yeah.
able to work out and all that. But you were always on your pole. Like every time
Yes,
I
yes,
saw your stories, your
I
posts, like
know, I
you were
know.
totally like, and I can get it. Like once you start it, it's difficult to stay away from it.
It's
So
really difficult because actually you've never tried pole, right?
no, no, I'm
You
definitely going
should.
to be now. You are closer to my
Yeah,
place.
you really should try it because you see these changes in your body, and apart from that, you realize that, oh my God, I did this. It's
Right.
not easy to fight gravity and spin around a vertical pole
Absolutely.
while it is stationary, or even when the pole spins.
Right.
It's really difficult to stay on and
True.
transition. And when you do that, you're just like, I'm like a superwoman.
Feel like a
That's what
goddess.
that's what pole makes you feel like. And
Absolutely.
I really feel every woman should get that feeling.
True.
So it's just amazing. Yeah.
True. And coming to that, many people have started embracing pole art in India, like thanks to trainers like you and the community that is building up. But there's still a lot of hesitation around it, like when someone for the first time hears, I'm going to learn pole art or I'm going to learn pole dancing. So there's
Yeah.
so much hesitation and assumptions about it. How do you sort of deal with it and how do you, explain the actual scene of pole art rather than how it is perceived first? So how do you do that?
So, of course, even today, though, like you said, it is picking up. There are many, many more people doing pole
Right.
right now. But of course, the minute you say pole dancing, the first thing people think of is strippers. They think
Right.
of bars, they
Exactly.
think of that. And it's okay because that's how pole has become famous. It is the
Right.
stripping community that has made pole what it is. So we
Right.
have to give them that due and that respect.
Absolutely.
And it's so difficult to do what they do.
True.
So but that said, it has also now branched out into a sport, into an art form.
Mhm.
It's an expression for people.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
I know people hesitate initially, and then they're like, "Ooh, it's like all so sexy and this and that." And I'm
Right.
only explaining to them that we wear these clothes because you need your skin to grip the pole. It's
Right.
just as that. Of
Right.
course, it's also because we want to. I believe everyone should
True.
wear what they want, do what they want.
Absolutely.
But from the pole aspect, the safety aspect, you have to grip the pole with your skin. It's a stainless steel or
Right.
a pole, and you need your skin to grip. It's exactly the same with Indian Malakam, which is a pole
Yeah.
sport.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've trained Malakam as well, Sakshi, and
Oh,
it was way easier for me because I have a
the pole
background.
training.
And the moves so similar, except that pole is thicker. It is made of wood. So you have better
Right.
grip, in fact, on the Malkham pole than you have
Right.
on a stainless steel pole. So
Exactly.
I have students in their first class, they're just sliding down. Your hands don't know how to
True.
grip, and then
Right.
you learn to train the muscles. You're training every fiber to like work and hold on to the pole and use your strength. So I'm
Right.
okay explaining these things to people. I don't get annoyed. I don't get offended because at the end it's coming from ignorance or limited
Right.
knowledge, right?
Right.
Like you don't know what it is, but that's okay. If you are being respectful towards me and asking me, I'm
Absolutely.
fine to answer your questions. This is what it is.
Absolutely.
It's just like you'll wear a swimming costume for swimming,
Mhm.
you'll wear pole wear for pole.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just that. And so once people understand this, it sort of are like, oh, okay, yeah. And when I mention Malcolm, they're like, because that's an Indian
Exactly.
sport, and
Right.
the
Absolutely.
men do it, and no one questions the men why you're
Right.
wearing those tiny shorts. So why do you always only objectify women?
Right.
That's
True.
my thing about it. But yeah, like I said, it's an expression for some people. They love doing like the exotic side of pole,
Right.
the sexual side of pole. For me, it's more the arty, the grace, the strength, the flexibility. That's more me, and
Right.
that's I showcase. And actually, that's
Right.
how I teach pole also to my students because
Got it.
that's my style of pole. So
Understood.
yeah, so a lot of people see that. I have a lot of students actually tell me like, we see your strength and we see the way you do it, and then we aspire to do that, and that's why we want to start.
Right.
So um Of course, there are some people who are scared what their families will say, or their
Right.
in-laws,
True.
married in-laws, or whatever. And I tell them I'm open to talking to them about it. My mom-in-law is super supportive, and she
Right.
understands what it's about, and she stood by me like a rock throughout. So I'm like, I'm okay to talk to them about it, or you show them my story, you show them how my mom-in-law is,
Right.
with me. And she's so proud of what I do. So, these things, they help people, and slowly the
Right.
awareness is building. And once someone comes for a class, either you're gonna love it or you're gonna be like, okay, this is not for me. So, but
Right.
90% of the time, you
If you
will love
stick
it.
through it, definitely you'll love it. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
no other way about it.
exactly.
It's
It's not easy, but you will still love it. Yeah.
right. I mean, even I had this perception about pole dance earlier, but I guess if somebody has these doubts, just go to Nupur's page or her studio's page and just check out the stuff that they're doing. It's crazy good. I mean, it's almost like calisthenics, how people are doing the stuff over there, the holds, the strength. I mean, it's a lot more about that. So definitely go and watch her be a stunner.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Exactly.
coming to my next question, what do you think are some of the things that one should know before starting pole training?
You need to know that if you have a body, you have a pole body. Okay? So if you have an
Lovely.
actual body, you have a pole body. And if you need to just have the willingness, the open-mindedness to try it. And you
Right.
need to be injury free. One, because it is a sport, it is taxing on your body. Of course,
Right.
I prep my students. We do a lot of pole conditioning, which is strength training specifically for pole.
Hmm.
So the
Right.
first, after warm up, the first minutes of class are spent on conditioning. I never do a
Right.
class without conditioning, because your shoulders, especially, they have to be prepped for pole. Your
Right.
core has to be working. So you have to be injury free to do all this. So that is the only prerequisite that you need for pole. So I often get people say, oh, but I'm not fit like you. I was never
Right.
this fit. It's like when you go to the gym, I always tell people, you will not pick up 50 pounds, you will pick up 5
True.
pounds to start
Right.
with. And that's exactly how you're going to start with pole. I'm not going to tell you, or I'm not going to do like a human flag and say, okay, now do this. I'm not going to do
Right.
it. Right? We will start
Totally.
from basics. So it's just that willingness to learn and that open-mindedness. And a very, very important thing, which applies to me, applies to every student, is look at it as your own journey. So never compare yourself with someone else, because
Absolutely.
bodies are so different. My strength may be your weakness,
True.
will, or your strength will be my weakness. So
True.
no two bodies are the same. So no two journeys will ever be the same. You may start with the same person at the same time, but it'll never be a linear progress for the two
Right.
of us. So
True.
I know it gets hard, especially with social media and everything. We tend
Hmm.
to look at other people and be like, oh, I wish I could do that, I can't do that, oh, she's
Right.
better than me. So, but one has to be strong-willed and get these thoughts away. So I tell
Absolutely.
everyone, always look at it as your own journey. It's okay if in class sometimes a trick will not work, but
Right.
be thankful that you have a body that could put in the work. So
True.
it
True.
didn't work today, it'll work tomorrow. That's fine. It's an ongoing
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah, so that's something that's very, very important, and I keep counseling my students about it. They're not allowed to say, oh, I can't do it. They have to say,
Right.
I will try.
Right.
So
Right.
that's yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of your students must be coming in their first class talking about injuries or having a sort of a fear about falling or, those sort of things. How do you deal with that?
So, of course, in first class, it's always scared. Everyone just wants to hold the pole and not be away from it.
Right.
But with the experience that I have now of teaching and learning from all these fabulous instructors and coaches abroad, I've learned how to cue them correctly. To
Right.
sort of get that fear away and to make them understand that your body is in control of the pole. The pole is not in control of you. So
True.
I know how to teach them to do that. And secondly, falling, that everyone is scared of at every point in their journey. I still am scared
True.
of falling in certain moves. When I train the very advanced moves and stuff, that will always be there. The fear of falling will always be there. For that, I always tell them, do not try moves that are scary by yourself. always
Right.
have someone to spot you in class. I'm there, and
Right.
always have a crash mat down for
Hmm.
safety. Like, I
Right.
sometimes post my fails as well. I fall all the time. But I know when I'm trying a new move, I will put a crash mat down, because why take a chance? You want to be safe.
Right.
I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to be smart about it.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
that's what I tell students, that you will fall, but we'll try and make it a safe fall.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, and
and
I've
it
always
is.
seen you being like the support from the right and the left and the bottom everywhere for your
Yes,
students. So I'm sure they
yes.
feel a lot more safer with
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
around.
Sometimes it'll just be, I just have to stand there, or I just have to touch their hand and they'll do the move. It's just, but they
Exactly.
want me to stand over there. And I do
Right.
that. Okay, because practice makes progress at the end of it. So in
Absolutely.
school, we do a lot of repetition. That's the only way to sort of get better at a
Right.
move, for your muscles to remember, muscle memory,
Right.
basically.
Muscle memory. Right.
Yeah, so after a few tries, then I can slowly start stepping away, and they'll remove themselves, and then everyone's clapping and cheering, and yeah, it's. I always tell my students, I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader for life, and I want to see everyone grow and thrive, and I'm always going to be there for them. So, yeah,
Right. That's amazing. I mean, the class always has such an amazing energy. Even if not for
yeah,
anything, someone should be there for that energy and, to feel
exactly,
like a
yeah,
goddess in the class. So
yeah,
that's really
yeah,
amazing. And would you say that pole is a young people's sport? Because that's one of the biggest perception people have. Like if even if my mom is looking at it, or someone older, they'll be like, okay, I don't think I'm going to do that. So what
yeah.
would you say to that? And do you have older students coming to you? How does
Yeah.
it work?
So it's not a young people sport. Of course, if you start younger, wow, I envy you. I wish I would have started younger. But I started at the age of 32. I have students who are even 50 years old coming to me. Some of, yeah, my good pole friends are like 50 and fabulous and doing amazing stuff on the pole. In fact, recently I saw this lady who is 74, and she's learning pole, and she recently performed, and she was doing inversions, and I was like, wow, so when I told you I want to be 80 and polling, I'm not joking about it. Like, I want to be able to do that. Of course, here it comes in. People will hesitate to start when they
Right.
are older, especially if they do not have any fitness
Hmm.
background or whatever, you know.
Right.
But that said, it is possible for anyone to do pole. Of course, you will not be able to do it as quickly, like I said about the comparing and your own pole journey.
Right.
You won't
Right.
do it as quickly as a 20-year-old,
True.
but you can still do something with the pole. So yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely
And
you
even
can.
learning those baby moves at any age would be like really amazing to
Yeah,
have. So,
of course, it's even if the pole is spinning and you do a pole spin, there's so much control going into it. There's
right.
so much mind body coordination and muscle awareness that comes in. And I feel
Exactly.
actually that really helps in your day to day life, because
True.
you know I also go to the gym. I train legs in the gym regularly, whereas for
Right.
upper body pull is my main form of workout.
Hmm.
But in the gym, I see we isolate muscles. Okay,
Right.
we do shoulders or back or whatever.
Right.
But in pole, there is no isolation. Every fiber is working, like muscles you didn't know existed in your body
Right.
are working to keep you there, to fight gravity and to help you do it with strength and grace. So I feel that really helps in day-to-day life, because I'm just so much stronger, and
True.
I can lift things easily. Of course, I don't do it all the time. I always tell my husband that no, my strength is only for pole. But if push comes to shove, I can do. I don't need anyone to
Right.
lift anything for me. I can do whatever. So
True.
I feel that that really comes into life, and your mind body coordination improves so much, and that's
Exactly.
what everyone needs. So it's so good.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people work out, but most of the workouts are a lot restrictive than what one would explore in pole art, because there's just no restrictions over there. What I can see, obviously, correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong, but
No,
there's
no,
just so much to learn. Like
there's,
one move
yeah,
can go into another, and someone might make it something else
yeah,
in the
exactly.
movement, the flow of it. So definitely, if you
Exactly.
want to explore that sort of a movement, it's a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
And That was my next question, but you definitely answered it. That what are the skills that pole heads develop? Or definitely a
Yeah.
lot of them you've already
It's
answered.
a lot, and even apart from strength, there's so much flexibility that comes
Right,
in because you're actively holding a move, so your legs
right.
are engaged. So there have been times where I've not trained my splits for so long,
Hmm.
but when I train it, I'll have an oversplit. Like, how is that
Right,
happening? Only because I'm engaging so much in pole. So
right.
it has flexibility. Second, I said the mind body coordination, strength, of course, like my clothes don't fit me. I have to wear sleeveless clothes because sleeves don't go through because of my muscles. But there's also body positivity that comes in and self
True,
love.
true.
Like I said, I fall in love with pole and I fall in love with myself. Like after every
Absolutely.
routine I do, whether it's a simple routine or an advanced routine, I hug myself and say thank you. Thank you that you did this. And
Right.
you will not worry about what colors your skin is. You will not worry
Hmm.
about stretch marks. You will not worry about cellulite. You will not worry about like scars or burns or whatever. You will just be so confident in your skin that
Right.
but you will walk with that confidence once you pole because you're like, my body did this. It doesn't matter how I look, but it can do this. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's great. I mean, definitely every woman is going to feel like a goddess once they start
Yes,
learning pole art. And
absolutely.
it's one of the best forms to practice self love, to be confident, and more than anything, I feel, because I've always seen your videos and the students, and they are like completely shocked and surprised and confident at the end of achieving a particular move or finally getting there. So that's definitely that's a great way to
Yeah.
go about it.
Yes.
And what are the progressions like in pole training? Like when we do weight trainings, for example,
Yes.
we know that in the beginning we have to do body weight exercises, then we add lighter weights and compound movements, then we begin with isolation. So how does it work with pole training? What are the progressions like?
So in pole, I'd say the progressions come with points of contact with the
Hmm.
pole. So when you start off, of course, we start with spins where you're on the ground.
Right.
Once you get comfortable with understanding the pull and the push, your core
Hmm.
working, shoulders engaged, where you're not just hanging off the pole for dear life.
Right.
So once you understand those things, then I progress with pole climbs. Then you learn how to climb a pole safely to the
Right.
top. And but that said, you still have like 4 points of contact with the
Hmm.
pole. When I say points of contact, I mean your skin gripping the pole of at
Right.
that point. And then as you progress, you are going to progress to from 4 points of contact to 3 points of contact, then finally
Right.
to 2 points of contact. And this I even
Got
mean
it.
upside down. So initially
Hmm.
you do not invert. Initially we do
Right.
everything that's upright. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's sort of your upright, and then as you progress we start inversions. So you
Right.
invert first on the ground, then once that's good, then we invert aerially because your strength
Hmm.
goes up. Then from basic
Right.
inversion into shoulder mounts, from shoulder mounts you go to handsprings. Handsprings are a way to go into your human flag. So
Right.
so the progressions are endless. Like even in the flag right now, I'm training myself to do it with my legs together. So
Okay.
otherwise there's eye necks that we do like in a straddle where I'm holding the pole and
Right.
yeah, parallel with my legs open. So that
Right.
my progression next is going to be with my legs together, which is harder. So there
Okay.
are progressions to every move and every trick actually that we
Got it.
work on. It's just as so I'll even in class I'll teach as per each one's capability.
Hmm.
I know, so I teach mixed level classes, but I will understand. Okay, if these two girls can do the final progression, I'll tell them you try this. But someone I
Right.
know will not be able to. I'll give them modifications that they can
Got it.
work for the trick. So it's like that. We progress on
Understood.
the pool.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was well explained. And what would you say are some of the changes you've observed in your students from the first class that they've attended and, some of them who might have trained with you for months. So what are some changes that you've seen in them? I mean, obviously they might be stronger, they might be more confident about the moves, but what are some other things, you might have seen in their personality or, the way they, carry themselves? How has that changed over the months?
So, with every student, I see that, like you said, the confidence, I see that inner confidence in them. When they walk into
Right.
class, it's, I'm coming to conquer this. Initially it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm scared. What are we going to do in class? Will I be able to do
True.
it? I don't know. And now it's just like, I am a superwoman. I can do this. I see that in them. I see that go-getter
Right.
attitude, and where the sky is the limit, there's nothing going to stop them. And I also see them shedding their inhibitions in the
Mm.
sense of in the way they dress, maybe. So,
Mm.
because they're so much more confident. So, like, even in
Right.
class, I'll first have students who will, it happens to everyone. When I say
Right.
you need shorts in the first class, everyone will wear like longer shorts, till
Right.
your knees. Or, and some girls are even shy to wear shorts. They'll wear tights, and then
True.
when they understand that, oh, I need my skin to grip the pole, I won't be able to do
Right.
it otherwise.
Right.
They get confident. And I've seen girls go from knee length shorts to like right up, because they're like so confident now and they're
Right.
like, yeah, I can do this and I'm not shy anymore. So I've seen them blossom into these absolutely stunningly confident and strong women. And I'm so proud of them.
That's lovely. I mean, having this kind of a feeling and energy in the class, and
Yeah.
you really, pushing them and holding the space for them to, be completely themselves and even better versions of themselves, really commendable. So that's
Thank
really an
you.
amazing job that you're doing, definitely,
Thank
with
you
your
so
students.
much.
And lastly, would you like to bust some myths about pole today?
Mm, there's one in particular that people always think, we spoke about the age factor, but people always think
Right.
it is very women oriented. Okay,
Feminine,
they
right.
they think this is something that girls do, because whenever I tell, if I say tell a guy that, hey, come and try, नहीं यार ये तो लड़की के लिए है.
True.
Some guys
True.
have that response. So that is something I want to change, because see, I've worked really hard towards promoting pole and making people understand that it is a sport, it
Right.
is a form of fitness. So now this is also something that I really am working on, for them to know that anyone can pole. A
Right.
gender is no bar. So I've started with I actually started with a student's husband who would make fun of her
Uh,
pole videos because it was a struggle. And I was like, bring him for a free class. So he came
right.
in for class, and oh my God, he struggled to do what my girls do. And then he was like, I promise I'll never make. Fun of pole ever again. So
Right.
started there, but that apart, my husband started pole recently with me, and he
Okay.
attended the pole camp in Turkey with Dimitri with me, and
Lovely.
he has he has really fallen in love with pole, and
Mm.
he's like, he gyms regularly, and he's like, oh my God, this is something so completely different, and how do you do it so
Absolutely.
easily? He's like grunting
Right.
on the pole and everything. But he's enjoying that. He's enjoying that challenge. And so, using him as sort of an example, I want
Right.
men to know that this is great for you too. So it's just like the Malakham pole, but you'll be doing it
True.
on a thinner pole, which is stainless steel. Your grip is harder to use here, so
Right.
challenge yourself even more. And so many world champions abroad internationally are men.
Amen.
Like, and if you look at them, you're just like, oh my God, like when will I ever be able to do something like
Right.
that? And men are naturally blessed with more physical strength than women.
True.
I mean, I have
Right.
to admit, men are stronger
Right.
than women physically. So I'm like, put that to use and come and learn,
True.
because y'all can go so well. So I have gotten inquiries from a few calisthenics guys in Pune,
Right.
and even from out of town, who want to come train. So I'm actually, hopefully going to start like a class just for men to come, and a separate
Right.
batch maybe, so that everyone's comfortable. And yeah, so that's one myth that I really want to bust. And the other one I've already worked on, and I think that'll be an ongoing thing, that pole is not only stripping, it is a sport, it is an art form,
Right.
and it's one of the best forms of fitness out there. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
that, yes.
That was really amazing, Nupur. Thank you so much. It was
Thank
an
you so
insightful session, and there's just so much more to understanding pole art than just watching someone do it, and having this image in your mind about it before
yeah.
getting into it. So definitely, you did a well. You did explain it really well today. So thank
Thank
you so much for that. Are there any last thoughts, any message or suggestions that you would like to leave us with for audience?
I want to tell people like this is very important because now I live by this, but it's also thanks to my husband that brought this and Paul that brought this change in me. Live life on your own terms. If there's something you want to try it because life is too short. We cannot
True.
live life by thinking what are people going to say. Log kya kahenge
Absolutely.
needs to be crossed out from our heads.
True.
Just do it. Life is short. Try what you want and pursue your own happiness. And
Right.
yeah, that's something that's very important because I see people stuck in life, but they cannot do what they want because whatever, family, friends, or relatives, this one will say that. And I'm like, it's your life.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen after this,
True.
like do it. Do whatever it is, whatever you want. Just go ahead
Right.
and do it and be happy. That's something I live
So that
by.
was a lovely message. Thank you. Thank you so much once
Thank
again, Nupur, for gracing our
thank
podcast today. And I hope to
thank
come back to you and see you achieve a lot more in this sport and
thank
even
you.
other things that you're exploring right now. That was it for today. I'm Sakshi Pawar. I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. And stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories your way. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?